Well, I'm going to make another project out of using deer antlers, and this time it's like I promised on my last video, it's going to be a beer stein. So I've got some, deer antlers here, these pointed ones, and I've cut those to the right length, and right now I have 7 of them. And I have a lot more, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 7 around, and they're going to point down like this. See, because this is going to end up being the top of the beer stein, because the bottom will be wider than the top. So I want the points to go up, and then I'm going to put a strip of walnut in between every one of them, which is what I've got this for, and I'll take it over to the saw, as I need it, and cut it. So I'm going to start right here, and as usual, I'll take and put one in here. I'll try to get it to where the point is a little more close to it right there, and I will use hot glue, and a little bit liberal right here on my hot glue to keep it off my thumb. And I have to sit there and do that for a minute or two. As you can see, I've got all both antlers and the walnut all fitted in sort of randomly, and I've also turned the plug to go in the center. I'm currently waiting for the glue gun to heat up so I can put a glob in the bottom, stick it there. Then I'm going to put some miscellaneous pieces in here to cover some of the voids. They'll all be turned out, but like I said before, the scrap wood is cheaper than epoxy are. The UPS guy showed up with my resin late yesterday afternoon. This is Easy Cast Clear Casting Epoxy. And here's, get these out of the way. There's the resin right there, as you can see. There's a couple of things, one thing I really like about it, and there's one thing I really don't like about it. It says in the instructions that it's formulated to automatically degas, which means that it gets rid of the bubbles itself. So I'm going to, in these 2 cups, I'm going to pour a 50-50 mix, and then I'll stir them together. Now I'm going to put this in it. This is a powder pearl. It's purple to blue shifter. Now, for those of you that don't quite understand that, what that is, that's a pearl that is meant to be put in the clear coat on cars, so that when you stand directly on it, it looks blue, but then you get at an angle, especially when the sun's shining, and it takes on a purple hue to it. It's really neat. I've used it before in some of these my castings, and it really has a nice effect. All right. We're going to pour about a half and a half here. Here we go. All or nothing now. Oh, I have, right there. I have got this at the right temperature. I put it in the sink with hot water for a while to get it up to room temperature. And then I let it sit out to sort of acclimate. That's what it says to do. I am going to follow the instructions to the T on this thing. So if it comes out with bubbles in it, it ain't going to be my fault. All right, let's see right there. All right, we're good. I said there was something I didn't like about it, and here it is. It has incredibly long curing time. Okay, it does a soft cure in 24 hours, but if you want the hard cure, which I would assume that's for turning, it's 72 hours. So today's Saturday, so I'm looking at turning this somewhere in the neighborhood of about next Tuesday or Monday. All right, now you use very little of this, like that, right there. That's it. Pow. Now the next thing it said to do in the instructions, after I put the 2 together, I'm going to go ahead and stir this up to get it all into one. get it all in here. I really like this stuff. It's really pretty. I have several pearls, but this is my favorite. Like I've told you a lot of times, I have painted a lot of cars, show cars, and I used to use a lot of pearls in my clear coats. All right, it looks like that's in there pretty good. See how it does? It really doesn't like blend all in. It sort of leaves real nice seals. Okay, now it said to pour the two together and mix them for exactly 2 minutes. Okay, there we go. Probably should be wearing gloves, but I got stuff that'll clean my hands. Talking about gloves, I am getting ready to do a video on why I wear gloves turning. It'll be a short one, and I may do it today. All right, here we go. The two are together now. Right there, just a little closer, right there. And we're going to turn this for 2 minutes, or stir it for 2 minutes. And it says on the instructions, my fingers are all sticky here. It says on the instructions that you have to do a second stir. I can't seem to get rid of it. Which means when I stir this for 2 minutes, I take it and put it back in the other container and stir it again for another minute. Now, they said it's absolutely required. So I'm going to do it. I said to make sure you scrape the edges. In fact, I'm even going to use a clean cup for it, just to make sure I get it right. And you see, I've got this set right here in my pressure pot holder, and I'm going to put it in the pressure pot, but I will not pressurize it, because it's got the deer antlers in it, and they got the marrow, and the marrow has air in it, and it also has some strips of walnut, and none of that has been stabilized. All right, I am on my second stir. I stirred the other. I didn't time it, but it was a long time. Sort of defies my logic as to why you have to pour it in another container and stir it for another minute. Seemed to me like you just stirred for 3 minutes. I don't know, but like I said, I'm going to follow these instructions. The last time I got it turned cloudy on me, I did a lot of research on that, and what it says probably caused it was that my material was too cool. I thought it was at room temperature, but it could not have been. I don't know if this is taking on a different look or not. I know my hand is. Well, you think that's been a minute, guys? I do. All right. Make sure you did get around the edges, it said, and scrape the edges. All right, I'm going to commence to pour this up. Here we go. And it says if you feel it warm, it's working. So here goes nothing. Nice and slow. Hope I made enough. Alright, this camera times out in 10 minutes. I don't like it. I'm probably not going to use it very much. I bought a new one the other day off of Amazon, and I got it here, and I found out it doesn't work if you got the chargers plugged in. And I don't like that, because I was going to basically hardwire it up by my lathe. In other words, I was going to put it up and have the charger plugged in so it didn't run out of battery. But when you put the charger in, it basically, sort of like on the TV, it mutes it, you know, it just doesn't work anymore, it doesn't do anything. So, okay, we're back at the 2-minute thing here on this part. I know I'm going to have extras, but I'm going to leave it in the bottom of a couple containers. And my plan is to make some discs and see if I can use the laser and engrave them for my little signature thing at the bottom. I don't know, I haven't tried it on hardened epoxy. I've done it on Lexan and some plastics, and it works pretty good. So we're doing the 2-minute thing now. I'll be back when I get them together. All right, I'm on my second stir on this now. You know, I was thinking of something while I was doing this. I used to sort of, not necessarily laugh, but sort of say, watching these guys doing the resin on YouTube, saying, and they'd stir forever and forever, and I'd sit there in my easy chair saying, damn, man, you don't need to stir it that long, it's already mixed. I don't know. The instructions here say that it's formulated to do that in order for the two parts to chemically combine, that it requires this much stirring, and maybe down to the molecular level there might be something to it. One thing I do like about this epoxy, though, it's thin, and that means that, you know, it's going to get down in all the crevices and stuff. Whereas if the epoxies you mix, like, you know, you go to Home Depot and you buy those two containers and you mix them, it's always pretty thick. I tried thinning it. The thinner I used, which was made to thin epoxy, for some reason if you use too much, your epoxy will never really harden. It's still just soft. I did that in a test run the other day just to see, because I thought this epoxy might be real thick, but it's not. It's very pliable, and I think it's going to work fine. I think that's been a minute. At least my hand says it's been a minute. So let's pull this out here where I can get to it. Let's get it out here where I can get to it. And let's pour the rest of this. I hope I got enough this time. I had bubbles in there. I hope they come out. Oh yeah, we're doing good this time. I think I'll have enough. I hope. Looking good. Well, I may not have enough for my disc like I wanted to try. Alright. Yeah, I probably will. I set that up straight somewhere. Alright, I'm going to go put it in the pot so it'll sit nice. And here it is, and here's what it's going to look like, sort of. I'm going to have this is going to be the bottom. So it's going to be a piece of walnut there, and this is going to be the top, and it's going to be a piece of walnut there. Now, while I was waiting for this to set up, I was trying to figure out how to make a handle. So I found this piece of antler here. I believe this is probably elk, because it's too big to be whitetail. But anyway, if you can see this, I should have showed you before I cut it out. I took it over to the bandsaw with the small blade, and I made a handle right here. Now this is going to sit something like this, with this being straight up, because this is going to be my hinge point for my top. So there's where we are now. The next step is I'm going to take it to the disc sander and try to flatten this bottom down a little bit. And the reason for that is I'm going to put it in the drill press and drill a hole right here with a Forester bit to accommodate my pin jaws. so that way I can, you know, have a way to hold it onto the lathe, because this will be the top, and I want to finish the bottom off first, and I want to hollow from this end, and then I will glue or epoxy this on the bottom and put a recess in it and flip it around and work from the top. Sort of a complicated process. I hope this video isn't too long. I don't like multi-part videos. I find that sometimes one part gets lost in the confusion of things. So the next step is go try to straighten this out and get on with it. So I'll catch you in a little while. I'll start with a round little scraper and see what happens. That may not be the best thing to use. Trying to chip out on me right here. Come on, how about this? That is some messy stuff, my friends. Oh yeah, doing much better. Much better. All right, I'm gonna get her down to round and we'll work on the end. $2,000. Sometimes you have to experiment around till you find the tool that you think does the best job. I'm skipping to the hollowing process of the bottom, and what I'm going to do is hollow half of it from this end, and then put the cap on it, and then I'll turn the recess, turn it around, and then hollow from the nose end. I set this on here just to see what it looks like, and I drew a line around it so I can see what happens. Now I'm going to go mix up some epoxy and epoxy it on. But first I want to mention one thing about glue and epoxy and other things. You really, especially epoxies, need to take something like 36 grit. And it really needs to be, where you're going to put the epoxy, it really needs to be roughed up pretty good. Epoxy doesn't do well against smooth surfaces. It's got to have something to get into and grip. Same thing applies to this surface, although this isn't really that smooth, but I'm still going to scratch it up pretty good. And that's all you need to do. It's epoxied up now. Filled up a couple of little bitty voids. So I'm going to give her a while. I'm going to give it about an hour. Go find something else to do. Got the bottom all epoxied on, and I trimmed it up a little bit, but the whole thing wobbles, so I'm going to true up the whole thing and true up this end.
I got the bottom all turned down, and I've cut the recess in it. Made sure that my chuck fits real good. I'm getting ready to take it out of the other chuck now and flip it around. And I will be putting another walnut on the top and hollowing that, and we'll go from there. Now I'm cleaning up the top and getting it ready to accept the walnut plate for the top, and then I'll be hollowing that out. Well, here I'm just got done epoxying the top on, get it all settled down, and then we'll start drilling a hole and hollowing it out. We'll watch this a second.
It's the next morning. I didn't really need to let that epoxy sit up that long, but it was getting late. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this down right here, and I'm going to make it flush with this. When you fix a little crack, I found the best way to do it is to take a little bit of the shavings or sawdust and like put them in your hand like this and sort of do them like that, and then put them into the crack, rub it in pretty good, but then take something like this skewer and push it down into it like that, okay? Get it really in there until you feel like you've got it pretty tight. The thin say will still penetrate it, but you'll have a much better and nicer looking fix. And then we put a little thin CA on it right here. It's hard to do a little sometimes. Now I'm going to try something here. See how this is like porous? I don't know if this will work or not, but I'm going to try it. I don't know why it won't. So you take all these right here that are pores. You see how it's soaking it up? And what I'm trying to accomplish here is I'm going to try to get it where it's smooth. Fumes can get you with this stuff. Well, I'm going to commence to do a little hollowing. Looking good, except for one thing. I believe that's dull. So I'm going to cut this off and go sharpen it. While that's sitting up, I'm going to try to do a little sanding. And what I do is I take a dowel pin, put a split in it, and I put sandpaper in there. This is a sticky back, so it sticks together. And then I can, do it like this. So let's see what happens here. Here's the semi-finished product. And I say semi because I need to put about 2 or 3 more coats of True Oil on it. But I think it turned out pretty well. I'd do a couple things different if I did it again. I think I would leave the walnut out of, you know, of inside the epoxy. Now, you know, I can't show every little step of how this is done because there was a lot of steps, and it'd be a full 4-hour video, so we can't do that. Nobody'd look at it. So in the comments, I'm going to try to document step by step the basic steps, you know, how I did it in some type of chronological order. But anyway, there it is, my friends. I'm pretty pleased with it. It's got the lid, you know, for keeping the bugs out. I mean, that's the reason they put lids on them originally. You know, they might still do it. They used to drink warm beer, and, you know, had a lot of bugs and stuff. So that's why that was there. And it's hinged. It has a pin, and this is all Antler. You saw me cut out the handle earlier. It's epoxied on, and the little finial on top right here. So now what I'm going to do is for those who have never used True Oil before, I'm going to show you how it's done. First thing you have to do, which I've already done this, didn't want to waste your time, but you want to rub it down after every coat except the last one, naturally, with some aught or double aught steel wool. I have aught because the steel wool getting place didn't have double aught. So, you know, after you do that, you want to take, it's used a little bit, but it's a tack rag. It's called a tack rag. It has some sort of waxy substance built into it, and it picks up dust. You can get these at, you know, I don't know if Harbor Freight or any place has them, but you can get them at any auto parts that sells paint. So anyway, you want to really wipe it down with this to pick up any dust that, I blew it off with air earlier, but you want to pick up any dust whatsoever that you can pick up. So, you know, you do that all over. Now, True Oil, here it is. It is a gun stock finish oil, and it's extremely fine. I mean, you can get that really, you know, high dollar gun stock finish on these. That's I don't know if that's all they use on them, but something, you know, like a high dollar Browning or something. This is the type of finish they have. I used to finish guns years ago. In fact, one time I used True Oil. I did the top on our dining room table. It was a cherry table, and this was probably 35 years ago, and my daughter still has it today. And it don't look as good as it did, but after raising about 4 kids on it, but it's still held up, so, you know, it has durability. So anyway, there's a correct procedure for doing this, and it's a simple one. You use your fingers, nothing but your fingers, and you put it on as sparingly as possible. So you use your finger. Basically, you just rub it. Now it's harder to be sparing up here on the top because I did some texturing on the top, so it doesn't lend for smoothing things out real well. But you want to, you know, do the top, and, you know, you saw how much I had on my finger, and that's all I had, and I also still had enough to do this right here. And you want to start somewhere, working your way around, and you do this right here. You rub it on here as far as you can go with it before you get any more. Now, the drawback on using this stuff is that the setup time is a long time. You'll need to have it sitting overnight, and you'll need to do it 3 or 4, you know, maybe even 5 times. And basically what it does is it fills the pores of the wood is what it's intended to do. Let me see if I got it in here pretty good, in under here. And you need to use a pretty good light so that you can really see what you're doing. Come on, there we go. Make sure you don't have any dull spots. And I probably shouldn't have done that. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to set it down. So you look it all over and you make sure it's nice and shiny and you haven't missed any spots. And as you can see, it is. So you just set it down on something. I'm going to use this roll of tape. I hope it doesn't stick to it. I had some wax paper. I may have to go get another piece, but I can't do that and hold this too. So guys, there it is. If you like what I do, please subscribe and give me a like. And as usual, I will catch you on the rebound.